A dun dun brock, dun dun talk, dun dun brock, dun dun talk, dun dun brock, dun dun talk. Brock talk it's dog, dun dun brock, dun dun talk, dun dun brock, dun dun talk. What's going on, YouTube? It is BigHatBrock. We're back with another episode of Brock Talk. This will be the historic 8th episode. We finally did it. Finally got to that 8th episode I was talking about. Took me a minute, but I'm lazy. What can I say? Thank you to everybody who has subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button also, and let's get ready for another fun episode of Brock Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed the shorts. The YouTube shorts I've been uploading recently have been going crazy. Very thankful for that. Hope you guys like the book video of what I read in like the first quarter of 2024. That was a fun one. And I'm trying out some new stuff that hopefully will see the light of day. We got it going on right now. I've got something stuck in my throat today, so I'm gonna try to edit out the coughing as much as possible. I have a nice warm drink here next to me to hopefully help that out. But today's topic, we're gonna get into we're gonna be talking about video game remakes and remasters and reboots, trying to figure all that out, and then at the end we'll get into demakes. But yeah, that's a topic. I feel like it's pretty prevalent. What with the Oblivion remaster dropping a few days ago as of this recording, and I want to talk about quick before we get into the main topic. A few side notes. One being that, okay, so we got the Switch 2. We had the prices for the Switch 2 and the physical games. Pretty crazy stuff. I own a Switch OLED, and I play a few games on there. So there's a game or two I'm interested on the Switch 2, but as of right now, I'm definitely not looking to get it myself. But I do think there's a lot of nice improvements coming for the Switch 2, but personally not something I'm interested in right away. I'll put that on the back. I'll put that on the back burner for a while. And the thing I brought up earlier, so the Oblivion remake dropping, I remember there was rumors for a long time about the Oblivion remake, and it was like, are they making it? Are they doing it? Like, there was some leaks. Like, we weren't sure. And not leaks like the dang vegetable brother. I'm talking leaks like someone is leaking some insider information. And then I got a message from my friend, and he's like, hey, do you have Game Pass? The Oblivion remake just dropped on Game Pass. And I said, you're lying. That's made up. That's not true. Lo and behold, it was true. They kind of just stealth dropped the Oblivion remake onto Game Pass and on Steam and everything. It's playable right now. And I was kind of like, why would you stealth? Why would you do that? Like, wouldn't you want to announce a release date? Wouldn't you want to, get the hype going? Now, to be fair, the hype was there already. People have been asking for an Oblivion remake for a while. But I still felt like, I don't know, I think you should have had a date for it. Now, I had a nice conversation with some friends of mine about, like, does this help or hurt a game, or does it even make a difference? A friend of mine said, like, if GTA 6, I was going to say 5, if GTA 6 just randomly dropped, it would still sell like crazy. Like, someone would be like, hey, GTA 6 is available. There would be a lot of like, hey, why didn't we know the release date? But I remember famously the game, there was the culling, and then they announced the culling 2 would be out in a week. I can't remember what studio made it. But they were like, hey, the culling 2 is going to be out next week. And then it came out and it died instantly. There was, it was pretty quick. I believe there's a famous Penguin Zero, Moist Critical, whichever side of the fence you're on, it doesn't matter to me, but Penguin Zero made a video about it, I believe. So personally, I think I would want to announce a release date for every game. Now, to be fair, maybe they did it as like I don't know, like if they gave the developers more time, or they gave the people working on it more time. When you set that date, it's like, hey, we need this done by this date. And maybe they were working at a good pace, but they just felt better not having a date to live up to or get to. So it's cool that it's out, though. As far as playing it, I'll be honest, I never got into the original Oblivion. And even Skyrim, like, I don't think they're bad, but it never quite hooked me in as much as Fallout does. And now maybe like that's the problem, is I'm kind of always comparing it to Fallout. Like I need to appreciate these games for what they are. But yeah, never could quite get into them. It looks really good. I actually think the remaster itself looks really great. I also love that they kept, like, famously in Oblivion, there's a voice take where you can hear a lady do her line, and then she says, well, wait, let me do that again, and then she does it. I'm happy to see they left that in the game. Like, that fun little stuff like that. So, Oblivion remake looks pretty cool, but not in a huge rush to play it right now. Okay, now to get into, actually one more thing before we get into the meat of this episode. We're sitting at 154 subscribers as of this recording. I'm very, very proud and thankful for all of that. Maybe I said that at the beginning. I can't remember, all right? I am just going. This is one of those episodes of Brock Talk I've been thinking about for a while. Like, definitely when I wanted to do a podcast, this was a topic I wanted to cover. But I just, sometimes I get caught up in doing this extra prep work to start. And I need to just sit down and hit record and, get all my thoughts going. I did just burn my tongue on this very hot drink that I have next to me. So that's great. That's a good start. But anyway, let's get into it. We've been messing around for too long here. We're going to talk about video game remasters, remakes, and reboots, and then eventually demakes. So I feel like remaster, I used to think like if something was a remaster, and they've all kind of blended together. At one point I thought they were mostly the same, or at one point I thought they all were pretty distinct. But if you said like, what's a video game reboot? I would say like there's the Devil May Cry games. And my water heater's going off, by the way. That's not a siren in the background. Like a remake. So there's the Devil May Cry games. I remember in the PS3, Xbox 360 era, maybe like 2010, 2011, they made what I call DMC Devil May Cry, because that's what it says on the cover. And that was like, to me, that was a reboot of the franchise. Like, the main character looked a little different. It played a little different. It was Devil May Cry, but it was a little different. To me, that's like a reboot. And then if something was a remaster, they would like take the original game, give a new coat of paint to it, update it a bit, make it a bit smoother, and then bring it to modern consoles of the time. So one example is like they did the Kingdom Hearts games, and there was like Kingdom Hearts Collection 1.5, and so it was like the same game, but like it was smoother, it was a bit brighter. It was just like you had achievements, because a lot of those older games didn't have achievements. They were on PlayStation 2 and stuff. And then if something was a remake, they took the original game, but they rebuilt it from the ground up with modern graphics. So like, one of the more famous ones, the Resident Evil 2 remake, and then, Resident Evil 3 and 4 remakes after that. And then there's like the Dead Space remake. So I guess that's the best way to, that's kind of how I see it. But then like people use it interchangeably. Like people will still refer to the Dead Space. They'll be like the Dead Space remaster, the Resident Evil remaster. I'm not that tough about it or like picky. It's like however you refer to it, I guess. And I just kind of wanted to have a bit of a slight ramble about it, of like, I quite like a lot of these video game remasters. Like I said, huge fan of the Resident Evil 2 remaster, or remake. See, now I'm doing it. I like the Resident Evil 2 remake. The Dead Space remake was pretty good as well. And I like the older games, like I said, Kingdom Hearts. I've been playing the Jak and Daxter games on PlayStation 4. It's fun to see them with achievements, trophies, and better graphics. But I'm just wondering, like, how far does it go? Like, okay, so you remade Resident Evil 2. Oh, there was a Silent Hill 2 remake recently, which apparently people really liked that. I haven't played it yet, but I think it looks really good. But, like, I don't know. I'm just kind of sitting here wondering, like, what's the long-term effect of this? Like, are we just going to be playing the same games forever, just updated and updated? And I guess Skyrim fans know about that, right? Like, I feel like they just keep bringing back Skyrim every couple of years, which is great for the Skyrim community. But even with like the good ones, so we'll stick with Resident Evil because I'm pretty familiar with that. It's like right now there's 8. Yes, there's 8 mainline Resident Evil games, and we're up to Resident Evil 4 remake. So like, are they gonna remake the games up until 8? Are we gonna get 9, but then they're remaking 8? Like, are they gonna cross paths with each other? I also think they tweaked the storyline slightly. I mean, there's still a lot of the core like ideas there, but I think they tweaked the storyline a little bit for the remakes to make it a little more unique. So like, is that gonna be a weird experience? Are they gonna somehow bring them together? I don't know, but I think Resident Evil 5 is like a fun game to play with a friend, but like a 3 out of 5 kind of game. Like, there definitely could be better. So if they did announce a remake, I'm very like interested to see that. Because it's the same thing with 6. Like, what are they going to do with 6 if they get that far? But right now they're just printing money with these remakes. I mean, and to be fair, they have to make them well. But what are you going to do? Like, you just going to remake the whole series? I mean, I guess if it makes money, you will. Also, like, in 20 plus years, maybe more, are we going to see the Resident Evil 4 remake? Like, are we going to see Street Fighter the movie, the video game, and then Street Fighter the video game, the movie, the video game, or whatever it is? And typically I would say, like, make something new. Like, that's kind of what I'm all about. Like, eventually I think it's important to move on. I know they announced, I believe it was announced that the original 3 Halos are going to be remade in the Unreal Engine. And again, I was kind of just like, I don't know, make something new. Now, to be fair, I guess Halo 4, 5, and Halo 4, 5, and Infinite kind of got like not the best response that they would want. So maybe they're like, well, let's get back to basics. But it does feel a little like, I'm sure you could come up with other ideas. You know, I don't think we need to see those games remade yet. Although I say that, and I bet and then they would be remaking Halo again, yeah, because Halo 1 and 2 had the anniversary editions, and the Halo 2 anniversary is really nice. That was a really good one. So I'd say generally I am a fan of them. Like, I like when they're announced, but it does kind of feel like, well, how many times are we going to do this? Like, can't you just keep that original one, like, playable? And a lot of those games haven't aged super well. So probably that's why they want to bring it to like modern controls and make it a little more player friendly and introduce a whole new audience to it. But sometimes I am like, I'm sure you could just make a brand new game. But I don't know, some people would argue that Resident Evil 2 is a brand new game. It's completely, you know, Resident Evil 2, the original, is like the tank controls and all the weird camera angles. Resident Evil 2 Remake is, you know, over the shoulder third person. And what's really cool is that the whole like police station is like one area instead of like having to go through all the different loading screens with the doors. Yeah, like I said, like, and the Dead Space remake was fun too. They were able to add like fun side quests and like fix a few plot holes here and there with the game that didn't really ruin it a ton, but it afterwards it is like, well, that bit kind of didn't make sense, but then they, you know, with the remake they fix it. So I don't know, man. Like, are we just going to be playing the same games every 20 years or so? And even like the Metroid remaster on Nintendo, like, I liked that on Nintendo Switch. That was one of the games I played. Like, so, but yeah, like in 20 years, are we going to see it again and again and again and again? I don't know. What do I know, right? Also, it's soul-crushingly upsetting when they remake a game, and it's just even worse. So one example, I'm looking at my desktop right now, and I see Warcraft 3 Reforged, which is a historically bad remaster or remake of Warcraft 3. There's plenty of videos. Matt McMuscles has a video of it on YouTube. There's plenty of stuff about this. The graphics are worse. The presentation is worse. Everything about it, I think, is worse. The cinematics are worse. And, like, that's just, like, come on, man. Warcraft 3. I mean, maybe it's just nostalgia. I don't know. But you hate to see an important game like that kind of go under and get this bad remake. Now, they did make some changes recently where you could change the graphics back to the original. But I don't know, man. Like, we'll never forget what Warcraft 3 Reforged was when it came out. I really thought the community and, you know, based on the comments, that Silent Hill 2 remake looked like it was going to be pretty bad, but then ended up being good. So that's great. Maybe we'll see more, especially since, you know, finding a copy of Silent Hill is like, you're going to have to shell out a lot of money to get those original copies. A friend of mine brought up an interesting point. I was going to bring this up when talking about Resident Evil 5, but I got sidetracked of friend of mine brought up an interesting point of like, well, instead of remaking something that's really good and beloved, right? Like you don't want to ruin that original feeling. Why don't you take a game that did poorly, or it'd be applied to a movie or something? Why don't you take something that did poorly and remake it to make it better? Give it another chance, right? Maybe it didn't have the funding, maybe it didn't have the time to be made properly, whatever it is. Give something a second try. And my initial reaction was like, that's a stupid idea, because if they announced like, oh, we're remaking, I don't know, a historically bad game. I can't think of an example right now, but if they're like, oh, we're bringing back this game, in my head I'd be like, dude, that was a stupid game. Like, why are you bringing that back? And let's say they put all the money into it, it comes out and it flops again. It's like, well, yeah, what'd you expect? You took a pile of dirt and tried to put makeup on a pig kind of thing. But I do think there is an interesting idea there, and why I brought up Resident Evil 5 was like an okay game, but not quite as good as I think we'd want. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe if you took another go at it with a new, fresh set of ideas and better graphics, maybe then it could be a really good game, and we can talk about how crappy the original Resident Evil 5 was. Also, I feel like pressured. A lot of times I'm like, oh, I want to play the original and then play the remake and then compare the two. But as of late, I'm kind of just felt like skipping the original and going back and just playing the remake. Now, I have been trying to play the original Resident Evil 7, and it was actually pretty cool, but I fell out of it. But I should just get back into it and then play the the Final Fantasy 7 remake. But hey, there's just too many dang games to play. They're remaking all of them. What am I supposed to do? And then as far as the reboots go, I don't know, there was the Devil May Cry one. I don't know if Prey counts, because there was a game called Prey that was like a bounty hunter in space hunting aliens. And then Prey 2 never came out. And then Bethesda made a game called Prey, but it was completely different. So I don't know, it might have just been, I don't know what was up with that. Oh, there was the System Shock remake. That looks pretty good too. But yeah, I really wish, I want more obscure games to come back. Shout out to Night Dive Studios. They've done a good job of, bringing back obscure games. That's something I appreciate as well. If you can bring back an older game, a really old game for, not a ton of money, and you can, you're not going to sink the company doing it, yeah, bring back some old games for fun. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to say, and what I have been saying, is that, yes, remakes, I'm playing remakes, I like them, but just how many times are we just going to keep playing remakes for the rest of our lives? And then there's things so they did The Last of Us, and I feel like The Last of Us is a slightly controversial. I guess it was over 10 years, but it was oh, they're remaking The Last of Us, and I was kind of already? That didn't come out that long ago, but it was 10 years. And they did The Last of Us Part 2. So sometimes with those kind of games, I'm I think it's a bit early, and I feel like the remaster is they kind of do it as a way to get people back into the franchise. So one example is the game Bulletstorm, which I actually quite like. They did a Bulletstorm remaster, I don't know, on the PS4 and the Xbox One, and I think they did it to try to get people back to the franchise so they can make a sequel, because the game did end on a bit of a cliffhanger. But they make this remaster, and they put and I think they're both made by Gearbox, so they were what can we do to get people to join? Oh, let's put Duke Nukem as a playable character. And it's no one cares about Duke Nukem, or somebody does, but the last, Duke Nukem Forever flopped. And so now it's well, now you put all this money into Bulletstorm Remake, it didn't do really well. Now this franchise is even further in the hole. And again, maybe what if they had just taken a risk and made Bulletstorm 2? I don't know. I'm saying it just make a sequel, make something new. I'd also say you have to be careful when remastering a game, because you don't want to lose the soul of the original game, but you also want I want it to look better. I want it to look nicer, but I also don't think you want to overdo it. So I really before Blizzard was really awful, they did a remake of the first StarCraft game, and they also did the Diablo 2 Resurrected. Both of those look really good. I think that's a great example of the core ideas and the soul of the game is still there, but man, it looks so much nicer. It isn't just a little bit brighter and has some achievements. It's just way more detailed and just this is slick. This is nice. But then sometimes something like the Halo Anniversary, like Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, some of it looks really good, but then there's just times where I'm like, okay, you put way, way, way too much detail into this. Like, you did not need all of this. Like, so typically something like the Combat Evolved Anniversary, I would say just play the original graphics, honestly, for the most part. And then the Combat Halo 2 Anniversary was like, that was like perfect. Like they did it just right. So I guess that's all. That's pretty much all I have to say about remakes and remasters. I'm sure something else will come back to me, but let's talk about the fun bit, which is something called demakes. Now the first demake I saw. Well, first off, before we even get into that, a demake is like someone is taking a modern game, they're reversing it. They're taking a modern game and they're like, what would this modern game look like on a way older console? Which I think was a fun idea. I don't know how practical it is or like if that will ever be profitable. Seems like just a fun thing people are just doing for fun. I'm just going to keep saying fun. But the first one I saw was Bloodborne. I can't remember. I feel like this was during the pandemic or something. I don't remember what year it was, but somebody was playing like Bloodborne, but it's a PS2 style game. And I was like, oh, this is pretty fun. And then a bunch more kept coming out. I saw one that was like, what would Five Nights... People went as far as to be like, what would Five Nights at Freddy's look like on the Game Boy Advanced? And what would... there was another... Oh, what would Halo look like on the Game Boy Advanced? There's a train going by back there. Then the more important ones I'd say is like people took Resident Evil 4 and it's like, well, here's Resident Evil 4 in the style of the original Resident Evil games. And honestly, like seeing all that, I'm like, that's really fun. I think it's really cool. Some of it is like they did Dead Space. Now Dead Space is already like Resident Evil 4, but they're like, here's Dead Space on the PlayStation 2, and I'm like, oh, it's just Resident Evil. That's all it is. So it's a fun idea. I like seeing them. I like to watch them a little bit, but again, like as far as practicality goes, I feel like the gimmick and the magic kind of wears off after a little bit. I'm like, okay, like I've had my fun. This looks cool, but I don't think it's unique enough to keep me focused, to keep me engaged. Again, fun idea, but I don't see... I mean, maybe someday, but I really don't see, like, in the future, will it be like Sega announces Sonic demake, and people are like, whoa. I mean, maybe. Sonic is a pretty popular franchise, but yeah, I guess we're getting close to the end of this. To kind of wrap it up, I've kind of been saying this already. But video game remakes, remasters, typically I like them, but I do just feel like how many, like, are we going to see the Resident Evil 4 remaster again? Are we going to see the Kingdom Hearts remaster again? Like, are some crummy video games going to get remastered like Anthem? I mean, I don't even know if Anthem exists. There's no evidence that it did exist in the first place. But will that get a remaster? I know they redid all the Assassin's Creed 4, they did Assassin's Creed 4, but they did a lot of the Assassin's Creed games remastered. Those look pretty nice. But typically, I would say make something new. But it also seems like, and I don't want to be this. There are a lot of good new games. I don't want to be this kind of gamer. But it does seem like a lot of people prefer this older stuff. That the older style is just typically more popular. Now there is a level of nostalgia and like rose tinted glasses. And when we play something we like, we already know what we're getting in a way. So that's part of it. It's also nice older games, you know, you didn't have to worry about a battle pass and loot boxes and skins and, well, I mean, you could get skins, but that was all unlocked through the game, finding secret, like, you know, codes and doing secret challenges and all of that. And then they found out how to monetize games, and it's like, okay, well, that's a little annoying. A couple games, if I could see like a full game remade, the first game that always thinks of, I'm going to start with a super obscure game, and I feel like Night Dive is close to hopefully picking this game, but there's these old games called Dark Seed. There's Dark Seed 1 and Dark Seed 2. Pretty ridiculous games, but I remember watching like YouTube series about them, And I'm like, man, like I really just want to play them for myself. Again, not great games. They're old, really old horror games with obscure puzzles. But a part of me is like, I still just want to play those myself. Like make them playable on the modern consoles. And I think there is room, I think, to do a complete rebuild of the games. And I believe that you could make it marketable, but also like a small corner of the internet knows about these games. I'm in that corner, but I would love to see Darkseid remade. I was gonna say the very first Assassin's Creed, but to be honest, this is another issue. Is like the first Assassin's Creed. Admittedly, I like it. Admittedly, very clunky and not didn't age super well. But like if they remade it, would it be like a modern day Assassin's Creed game, which I don't really like the modern day Assassin's Creed games? Would they kind of tweak it a little bit to make it better? Would it just be the same game? I'm hoping they could get that nice middle ground of like, it's not completely new, but the original game is still there, but do a little bit to help that storyline out a bit. But that's one that's in my head. I'm like, I feel like you could bring back the first Assassin's Creed game. But we'll see with how much people hate Ubisoft right now and all this. I don't know how well it would fly. But that's something in my head. I'm like, Assassin's Creed would be fun. Okay, I just looked up on my phone games that need. Oh, there was the Knights of the Old Republic remake. We're not sure. Who knows what's going on with that? I don't know if they're. Supposedly they're still working on it, but they did take the trailer down from YouTube, so that's weird. We got Super Mario 64. Simpsons Hit and Run. That's something I feel like people have been asking forever. Like, bring back Simpsons Hit and Run. Stuff like that I feel like is a rights thing. Like, we don't know, like, who owns the rights and stuff like that. Now that I'm looking at this list, I remember, like, the Lord of the Rings games. Like, the Two Towers and the Return of the King. Even, like, the Third Age, which is, I made a short about that earlier this year. Like, that would be really cool to see those games. Like, give them some achievements, buff them up, make them look really nice. But again, I bet it's like we don't know who owns the rights to the music and the voice acting and who's going to get paid for this. And so that's kind of the annoying thing with those video games. Those video games based like specifically on the movie. Let's see what else is on this list. Parasite Eve. Yeah, that's like a throwback. That game came out in 1998 is the date I have on my phone. It's similar to Resident Evil, but a more unique kind of like combat style. This is huge, like hidden gem video game. That's another one I feel like people are like, bring back Parasite Eve. So that would be a cool one. I've watched videos for it, but never played it for myself. Here's a good one. Dino Crisis. That looks really good. Like, I would really like to see that come back. This is Metal Gear Solid. That's the Snake Eater's already coming back, bud. Fix the sting list. I think God of War is fine. You can leave that how it is. That's still playable. I don't understand things like why did they remake Silent Hill 2 but not Silent Hill 1? Like, what is it with these companies? Now, I know for Resident Evil, I think it was like they made Resident Evil 1 and then they did a version for it on the GameCube and then they did Biohazard. So I think they were just like, look, we've remade this game like 3 times now, or like it's been ported so many times it's still playable. We're just going to go to Resident Evil 2, which is still pretty difficult to find at the time, and then they remade it from there. But just little stuff like that, I'm like, dude, what's like, give us Silent Hill 1. Why did you go right to Silent Hill 2? And then are you going to go back and be like, here's Silent Hill 1? Looking up a list here. People want the Morrowind remake. Yeah, I feel like that. After the success of the Oblivion remake, we'll see that. Here's Dino Crisis again. Got the Castlevania games. Knights of the Old Republic 2. Fallout 3 would be pretty cool, but I feel like it's been longer than I realized for like the Fallout games, but I'm still kind of like I'm like, now, like, do we really need it? Like, is the soul of the game going to be there? But we'll see. And people want the Resident Evil Code Veronica. Yeah, apparently that had a pretty important like story plot, and they just never brought it back. Let's see if we can find one more good one here to kind of send us off. We're a little over 30 minutes, so we can find. So we can find one more good thing to talk about here. Red Dead Redemption, that's an interesting one. What about like Alice Madness Returns? Maybe. Oh, The Suffering. The Suffering would be cool. The Suffering was like it was a cool horror game on the original Xbox and PlayStation 2. I think they were both on that. I played a little bit of it, but as a kid it scared me a lot, so I didn't ever want to play it again. But that's a cool, like, that'd be a fun, like, game to bring back. But again, it is kind of like, you want to make money, and if only a few people play it, but I feel like with social media, you might be able to get that traction, but The Suffering would be cool. I just thought of a game. Oh, Doom 3 is an interesting one. So here's another one of, like, Doom 3, most people would say is the worst Doom. I talked about this in the Doom podcast I did a little while ago. Maybe you could remake Doom 3 and make it like the other Doom games and make it a more fast pace for what the audience typically wants from a Doom. That's an option. Again, I still love Doom 3 though, and I'd probably play the remake. Okay. What are we at here? 35 minutes, almost 36. I think that's going to wrap it up for Brock Talk here. Hopefully somewhere in this ramble I made some kind of sense. Let me know about your favorite remasters and remakes. And what would you want to see from certain games, or what game just in general would you want to see? Until next time, I'm BigHatBrock. This has been the 8th episode of Brock Talk. Let's get a round of applause. We got to that 8th episode. Got a few more stuff planned. And thanks everyone. Have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. All right. Have a good one.